we got an interesting test for you today. The revolutionary Penta TaylorMade golf ball was the first 5-layer golf ball. But what does 11 years difference make? Today we're going to test out the Penta versus the TP5. Does the Penta hold up? Hey golfers, welcome back to the channel. I'm Coss Barnette, joined by master fitter Harrison Arnold, and today we have an interesting test for you. TaylorMade golf balls. Historically, TaylorMade was the first to come to market with a 5-layer golf ball, and today we are going to test the Penta 5-layer golf ball from 2011 versus today's TP5. Harrison, what golf ball are you currently playing?
Currently playing the Pro V1. Have had experience playing the TP5 though, all the way through college. Played the TP5X, so it's going to be kind of interesting to kind of see this Penta TP kind of right at the early years of like golf ball development for TaylorMade to kind of see what this new one's going to be doing.
Right, and I think part of the marketing and when they originally came out, you know, they basically had a layer for every shot from your putter down to your driver.
Yep.
Genius marketing or a true threat to Pro V1? I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I guess so.
Let's get testing.
Let's go.
All right, Harrison, we got the Penta ball first, and I think what we're going to do is hit 3 7-irons, 3 drivers, and maybe just get your reaction a little bit on spin, feel, and anything you're noticing within the numbers. Before we get started, you know, you're a high-level player. What are you expecting, kind of 7-irons in terms of launch, spin, those types of conditions with your golf ball?
Yeah, so I kind of one of these is going to be one of the kind of first golf balls I started to play when I was kind of growing up. So I think it came out kind of 2011, 2012, so as I was really getting into golf. So one thing kind of I do remember is how soft this golf ball felt. I remember this being around the greens feeling extremely soft. I remember being really low in driver spin because I think that was kind of the craze of the time was how low can bring a driver spin, right?
Sure.
Know the kind of TP5 is probably going to be a little bit higher in launch, probably similar spin numbers what I'd expect, but you know, as we've seen in recent ball tests, the older golf balls have been a little bit more, higher in spin than some of these newer golf balls. So expecting to see that Penta be a little bit higher in spin, and maybe this TP5 just be a little bit higher in launch.
All right, well, let's give it a look. We got a 7-iron here, and just maybe for the viewers, what's your build there?
Yep, just playing a Mizuno Pro 241, just a Project X 6.5. Just gonna kind of my setup already, so I think it'd be the fairest test here.
Sure. All right.
But yeah,
let's give it a whirl.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, kind of like I was talking about, extremely soft off the face.
Okay.
You know, definitely can feel that being slightly different to the current golf ball I play. I mean, pretty good numbers kind of start. Kind of see a couple more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we make any sort of judgments, you know.
Good strike on the first one.
Yep, similar story again. Probably, I mean, through the first 2, probably seeing that spin be a little bit higher than I would usually see my golf ball. I mean, kind of going on the same line as what we were talking about earlier. Still pretty soft off the face, so we're kind of interested to see how this, like the TP5, really compares to it when we start testing that one too. Well, turned that one over a little bit, so spin dropped. Spin definitely dropped a little bit, but still kind of in that sort of, I mean, I would say for me personally, still in that kind of higher spin range what I'd usually see.
Okay,
so,
what do you usually see with your current ball?
Usually I kind of look for kind of 5,500 to 6,000.
Okay, even with the 7-iron?
Yeah, even with 7-iron, I hit the ball pretty high, launch the ball pretty high, so I kind of get away with having a little bit lower in spin. I like to kind of move the ball around a lot, so you know, kind of being in that sort of mid-range is kind of where I like to be. This, I would say, maybe just from where I grew up, I would say it's probably a little bit high in spin for me. Because I know I can kind of see that ball balloon a little bit when I start to see these higher spin numbers.
Right, on average they're about 6,400 on the spin, consistent across the board in terms of, you know, your carry and your total. The first one you actually got the best, but anything else that you notice in terms of you know, land angle, you know, strike, impact? He said and commented on kind of how soft it felt with that 7-iron, but anything else that stands out for you here?
Yeah, a little bit. Just kind of, we spoke about that launch earlier. I did say that's probably a little bit higher than I would like that I would tend to see.
Sure.
Kind of looking at that sort of 17, 18 range, so it is kind of like a degree higher. But
sure.
So a very small difference, but enough for me to kind of get to notice a big difference to my current golf ball.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, let's take a look. That was the Penta. Let's take a look at the TP5. All right, so 3 with the TP5. Any first reactions as
Yes.
far as feel, looks, anything that stands out to
For
you?
sure. So definitely there's been a big development in their sort of cover development over the years. This is a completely different look to what that Penta was. Penta was very known for kind of scuffing up pretty quickly back in the day. I mean, it's kind of their first go at it, right? So, so they have a different material on their cover now, so a bit more durable. Definitely see the difference as well. That one kind of looks a little bit duller in a way. This one looks a little bit shinier.
Yeah.
So usually when I see that, I would expect ball to be a little bit firmer to the feel. So we'll kind of see how that goes.
And speaking to the scuffs, I mean, you hit 3 shots. There's not any like noticeable scuffs, but it definitely has been hit in only 3 shots. So
For sure.
Great observation. Spin rate up a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit pushy on that one. So I'm
Similar
not
launch.
too surprised to see that kind of spin up a little bit higher.
Sure.
But otherwise, yeah, kind of similar launch for something that I felt like I kind of left out there and pushed it. So.
Yeah.
Did pull that one slightly. Nothing crazy, but like, yeah, spins kind of stayed. Didn't really drop too much though. So very
Similar
consistent
spin.
considering to what we saw on that first one. You know, in comparison to what we saw that Penta, when we hit that Penta and I hit a slight pull, dropped and spin quite a lot. This was stayed pretty consistent.
Yes. The launch angle did come down though, kind of closer to what you were talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
That sounded like a nice strike.
Yeah, again, another one I kind of just left out there a little bit. Nothing crazy though, enough to kind of keep me in play on the golf course, right? But yeah, I mean, all 3 of those shots, I would say 3 very different strikes. So kind of looking at those numbers, spin is the biggest thing there. How consistent that spin was. You know, in between that TP5 and that Penta TP, there's only 144 difference in between those two in comparison to 305.
Right.
You know, I hit that one shot where I pulled it, dropped down to 6100 with that Penta TP, which is quite a big jump from, you know, that 65 to 68 range where I was kind of in that sort of good strike to average strike. So I think that's the one big difference in there is, okay, how does that affect us on the golf course? Well, you need that ball to be as consistent as possible, right? It's a game of uncontrollables. If I'm on the golf course and I'm seeing from the fairway my ball's going to slightly change and spin, well, that could be that's the difference of 4 or 5 yards out there. That's carried 177 in comparison to 173, 175. So that's 4 or 5 yards difference. If I'm going for that back middle flag, well, I better know how far that ball's going. Otherwise, I'm going to keep leaving myself a pretty tough chip, right?
Correct. And so the consistency really of the TP5, the spin was consistent, right? The difference of 144 RPM is nothing over 3 shots compared to the Penta TP that was 305, right?
Yeah.
So just on that little miss hit for both, you tugged a few, and the spin numbers stayed more consistent with that TP5, obviously helping you out in and around the greens as you're approaching your shots.
Yeah, for sure.
Outstanding. Well, let's give the driver a test, given the same thing. So let's start with the Penta.
Yep, let's do that.
Maybe talk a little bit about what you would expect out of your driver and your kind of current setup and current ball.
Yeah. So with my current setup, kind of in between a couple of drives right now. I'm using my Mizuno STZ right now. What I'd usually see from this, kind of spin somewhere in that 26 to 2800 range. I tend to play a driver that's just a touch higher in spin than what we'd call optimal. Why I kind of do that is so I can kind of keep that ball in the fairway a little bit better on those missed strikes. I hate to see a ball that pitches on that right side of the fairway and jumps into the right rough because it didn't have enough spin on it. So by having that extra bit of spin on there, just makes it a little bit more playable for me.
Sure.
So, but yeah, so I would kind of expect out of these 2 balls to see that TP5 probably launch a little bit higher, and maybe just see a little bit more consistent ball flight, kind of like we saw with the 7 irons. I know that Penta TP was known for its extreme low spin with driver, so be interesting to kind of see how that's developed over the years. I mean, it's been 14 years since that ball came out,
Correct.
so see how far that driver spin's really come. See if there's any fluctuations like we saw with the 7 iron.
All right, let's do it.
A little bit bottomy to start, but not surprising. Pretty low in spin. Even for like something that I felt like came out the heel and a little bit low off the face, usually I would see that kind of thing kind of balloon up a little bit on me. So interesting to see how low that spin was. Huh?
It just kind of stayed right on line, and it was a little bit of a missile.
Better strike. Okay, so yeah, again, better strike. Did leave out there a little bit, which I would expect to kind of spin a little bit higher. But so going back to what we were talking about with that Penta TP being very low in spin, well, still 2,300.
Right. Was that one off just the heel a little bit?
You know, I actually think I left that one
just a little open.
Little bit.
Okay.
You just left it a little bit open. I actually struck it pretty good. Huh? But interesting to kind of see how low that spin is.
The spin did stay low, especially for a shot that would probably have more spin on it, moving to the right a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
There you go.
All right, that's a bit more like what I'd usually see. Huh? Yeah. So again, I mean, across the board though, in all three of those, still a lot lower in spin than what I'd usually see. That last strike was maybe a touch off the bottom.
Sure.
So I would expect that one to kind of balloon up on me a little bit. So it's quite nice to see how far that went, even though I mishit it, right? So
well, let's take a look here and compare just on numbers. You know, spin rate averaged around 2,400.
Yeah.
And you were largely consistent kind of across the board in your strike and your smash factor. And anything else that stands out to you in terms of launch, you did, I think, accurately call the lower spinning. I'll be curious once we jump into the TP5, if you see a little bit more of that higher spin, the numbers that you're more familiar with that driver.
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, like I said, I think that's excluding that kind of like last shot I really hit there, which is a little bit more like it, right? Very low in spin, exactly kind of what they say on the box. So,
right.
Yeah, they're telling the truth.
a layer for every swing.
Yeah, they have one layer for every single shot in the ball. I think that's what they claimed to have at the time, right?
Right.
So
you commented with the 7-iron that it felt a little softer. Is the same feel you get with the driver, or did that feel firmer to you?
No, it definitely felt the same. It almost feels a little bit marshmallowy, a little bit off the face, right? So especially kind of those like bottom of the face strikes that I tend to see with my sort of bad shots, they usually tend to feel a little bit harder. Just kind of where that driver is sort of being constructed, but yeah, that still felt very soft.
Very soft.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do same thing here at the driver and the TP5.
Yep. All right out of the gates, that thing's launched a little bit higher.
Oh yeah, and the spin just
spin's gone through the roof. Yeah, that's kind of what I'd usually see, and this is kind of what I usually used to see when I used to play this golf ball myself as well.
Sure.
So not too surprising right there.
Do you prefer that number, that 3,100 spin number?
You know, for a shot that I've kind of left out there slightly, yes, I would agree. I think I hit one shot like that with the Penta TP, but it spun at 2,300.
Correct.
And kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier, where I had that example of where you've hit a drive that you've pushed out there to the right side a little bit. If it pitches in the right rough with 3,100 spin in comparison to 2,300 spin, you've got a much better chance of that ball staying in the fairway instead of it going into the rough, and vice versa, rough to the trees, stuff like that. So the more time I can get myself the chance to hit my second shot from the fairway, the better, because it's an uncontrollable game, and if the only way I know how far my ball's going to go, the best chance is going to be from the fairway.
Correct. All right, so you like seeing that little bit of extra spin there, and that's what you predicted, right? The TP5 spinning considerably more than the Penta, at least on the first swing.
For sure. All right, hit a little bit better with that one. But yeah, spin stayed very consistent again. A little bit higher in spin, kind of that window I'd like to see myself when I'm hitting it good. Launch stayed a little bit higher. I'm noticing ball speed is a little bit higher with this too.
Yes. Does it feel firmer? You had kind of predicted with a shinier cover, it feels maybe a little clickier, a little firmer.
Yeah, definitely feels a lot more like a modern golf ball.
Sure.
I think, yeah, just kind of having that sort of more developed five-layer cover that they've grown to sort of adapt into their golf balls over the years, I think you can definitely feel the difference. And there's also that sort of familiarity because I have played this golf ball before too, so it's maybe
it's like coming home,
Is that? It's like a warm hug.
The warm hug of the TaylorMade TP5.
All right.
There you go.
That's a pretty good one to end.
I take that one. Yeah, absolutely. 13-1 launch, 2,900 spin. I mean, I think that was probably the cleanest strike of the day. I've noticed too, your ball speed's up and your smash factor's been up too. I think you're warming up a little bit, but definitely been more efficient with the TP5.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to kind of look at some of these numbers here. You know, ball speed is up 4 miles an hour. Considering there's only about a 0.8 miles an hour difference in clubhead speed, that still indicates there is a jump because of the ball, right? So we'd probably only see 1 or 2 miles an hour of ball speed difference in that, probably just 1 miles an hour really with that difference in clubhead speed. But ball speed is up 4 miles an hour, so efficiency's gone up. Ball's going a little bit further. You know, gone from carrying at 275 to carrying at 283. Total's around about the same, but that's just because of that low spin that the Penta was giving us. So one thing I'm noticing on there too is how much higher this golf ball's going. We spoke about that launch being a lot higher with the TP5.
Yeah, it's almost 2 degrees higher in launch.
And then if you look at that peak height, I've gone from 98 feet to 134 feet. So ball staying in the air a lot longer. Launch is higher. Penta spin way lower. So,
and I think that spin is obviously helping that ball stay in the air a little bit longer.
Yes.
And that's creating a little bit more distance and controllability down the fairway for sure. All right, any other numbers that are standing out to you here? And I guess talk a little bit about the progression from the Penta to the TP5. Obviously, the TP5 modern golf ball, but historically, the Penta to get back into the 5 layers first to market with that design. What's your final takeaway in terms of the Penta versus today's TP5?
Yeah, so I think my biggest takeaway is that I was born at the right time. I didn't have to play a Penta because I've gained about 8 yards there, so that makes me feel a lot better. So, but yeah, biggest thing, lower in spin with the TP, much higher in launch, much higher in spin with that TP5. For someone like myself who kind of prioritizes hitting the ball a bit straighter than longer, because I'm not going to be the biggest hitter out there. I want to make sure this ball stays in the fairway so I can play to my strengths. TP5 is always going to be the way I'd be leaning towards. But interesting to kind of see how they've developed since their first 5-layer ball to the current ball on the market right now.
And maybe talk about just the importance of ball fitting in general. I know that it's included here at Second Swing with all of our master fitters. I think this test shows a little bit, maybe if you've been playing a ball for 4 or 5 years and haven't tested out newer balls, what's the benefit of that and why should folks do that more regularly? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, kind of as we just shown here, we've only hit like 3 or 4 shots with each club here, but we've shown there's definitely a distance increase here. There's definitely a ball flight increase, which is the biggest thing. I think getting a ball fitting is one of the most important things. It's very underrated, right? Not a lot of people want to talk about that. I think the biggest thing though is making sure you play that same golf ball, being consistent with the golf ball you're hitting, because you could see fluctuations if you're switching between a TP5 and a Penta TP. Well, we're going to see some very different ball flights. Going to affect your performance on the golf course because you're not going to know how far that ball's going, and that's the #1 key in golf, is to know how far your ball's going.
Harrison, awesome insight. Thanks for your time today. Testing the Penta 2011 TaylorMade and the modern TP5. Golfers, thanks for checking in. Head to secondswing.com, schedule your fitting today.